Okay, we're continuing down our look at 30 types in 30 days, and it is day number 23, and I want us to take a look at Exodus chapter 17, verse 1 through 7. These are great verses because they kind of encapsulate the entire Christ story again for us here just in 7 verses. So we have all these people who've now come out of Egypt, and they're now in the wilderness, and they're so thirsty they feel like they're going to die. Surely you've brought us out here to die. They're so angry with Moses now for what he's done. Yes, you freed us, but for what? Just to die here in the desert. So they're thirsty, they feel like they're going to die, and Moses said they're so angry in verse 4, he feels like they are about to stone him. It's at this moment that God tells him what the plan is. Okay, take the staff with which you struck the Nile and some of the elders and go before the people. Now it has to be the staff that struck the Nile. This is because when it struck the Nile, it caused blood to flow. It's that staff. It can also be interpreted as a tree. Take the staff/tree that makes blood flow, go before the people, now that they're so angry. And he says, I will stand before you at Horeb. Now, Horeb is Sinai. That's the same place. God says, I'll stand before you. That's a court term. And Edmund Clowney, former president of Westminster Theological Seminary, points that out, that God is using a court term as if he himself is the defendant standing before the judge. I'm going to stand before you. God says, I'll be the defendant, you be the judge. I'll stand before you at that rock, and you strike the rock. You can't strike God, obviously, so the rock becomes symbolic for what God is going to do. He's going to allow himself to be struck. This is what Edmund Clowney points out. Beautiful, beautiful typology. And so, in doing so, it's going to cause water to flow that's going to quench everybody's thirst. Paul equates this very same rock in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4 to Christ, because he sees in it the Christ story, the obvious Christ story after the fact. The people are desperate, in need to have their thirst, their real thirst, their spiritual thirst quenched. All of us are like this. And we're all desperate, and we're all going to die if we don't get it quenched. But we're the ones who should be dying. We're the ones who should suffer. But instead, God says, I will take the punishment. God says, I will stand as the defendant, and you strike me instead with the tree/staff that makes blood flow. When Moses strikes the rock, which is Christ, Paul points out in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, when Paul strikes that rock, water comes out for all the people to have their thirst quenched and to live. The Christ story is told here in the most beautiful and perfect way. Take a look at it yourselves. Just marvel at what he's done. Talk more tomorrow.